Well, it's not day drinking, but man, is it required drinking to you people. 2XO whiskey right there. Welcome to the show presented by Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. Why are we drinking? Well, you're 10 votes in and you don't have a speaker. I think that should require a little bit of a drink. That may require a beverage. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. It's not the end of the world. Is it a problem? Well, it can be when you've got Representative Dan Crenshaw referring to other Republicans as terrorists, when you've got Matt Gaetz so without a plan that he's now putting up Donald Trump for Speaker of the House. The Republicans are now moving to Hearn of Oklahoma as a possible speaker because they don't want Kevin McCarthy. And Kevin McCarthy seems to have given away, well, everything he can possibly give away. And he still doesn't have the votes and isn't going anywhere. He's going to ride this until he gets the votes, until he can find enough giveaways, enough carve-outs, enough whatever it is to get it done. The argument, of course, is why don't the Democrats ever have this issue? How come Democrats never have this issue? Well, that's an easy one to explain. Democrats never have this issue because Democrats have a theory. The theory is, yes, whatever you say, just please don't hurt me. Their job is to fall in line, and they do it because part of their own ideological point of view is to fall in line. That's what they do. That's who they are. They will most probably never have a situation like this. And when they don't fall in line, well, they get absolutely destroyed. Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, they're following people into bathrooms for the love of the Lord. You think that's going to happen to any Republicans? Matt Gaetz, with everything that he's done, do you really and truly think that he's going to get into a lot of trouble? They're going to really take committees from him? I doubt this highly. Now, Matt Gaetz, if he's opposed to Kevin McCarthy, I'm really and truly fine with that. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. But you've got to be a guy with a plan. You must have a plan. And the plan has to involve having somebody you want to vote for, having somebody you want to push for. He didn't have it. Jim Jordan to Byron Donalds to Donald Trump, that's not a plan. Don't tell me he did. Don't tell me that he's some kind of hero. I'm not buying in. Being opposed to Kevin McCarthy is fine. Saying, you know what? I cannot vote for this guy for speaker is totally fine. Not having a plan, not having a person, not having an idea, not fine. Ridiculous. And now you've got Lauren Boebert pushing for Hearn. Who? Yeah, right.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Colorado rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate Kevin Hearn of Oklahoma for Speaker of the House.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
It's as simple as that, folks. Let's start getting somewhere with this. Realize the facts. Kevin McCarthy does not have the votes. Let's elect a Republican who can unify our conference, who is a true leader. I'm casting my vote for Kevin Hearn, and I hope you will as well. I yield.
I have nothing against Representative-elect Hearn. Nothing whatsoever. I am saying this comes from not having a plan. But Lauren Boebert makes a point. Kevin McCarthy doesn't have the votes. Kevin McCarthy doesn't have the votes. So when do we start discussing this and looking at other options? Again, I go back to exactly how much can you wear down these Republican members? What else can you possibly give them? And by the way, should you? Should you give them? This is where Representative Crenshaw, Dan Crenshaw, came in talking to these holdouts as terrorists. He's just wrong. Congressman, you were just wrong. You want to be angry, you want to be upset, you want to think they're wrong, you could say so. You can be angry at them. I don't care if you curse them out. It wouldn't matter to me if you punch somebody in the face. You called them terrorists. That's what the left says about the political right. Now you're saying it. You were wrong. We're not debating here, sir. I'll tell you nose to nose. Your military service doesn't change the fact that you were wrong in making that description. A really bad move when you did that, sir. But Dan Crenshaw is, if we're going to look past that, he wants to make the argument that these people are holding up the ability to get a speaker, and they're holding us hostage. I had an interview today with Congressman Larry Bucshon. He's a medical doctor, and he represents the 8th District of Indiana, and he agreed with the idea that the party's being held hostage by these people who disagree. Well, that's what happens when you don't pick up 40 seats and you only pick up, 10 or 12 or whatever it is. You won, but you didn't win by enough to keep this problem from being our problem. Now, to the extent that it's a problem, you know there are worse problems out there. There are far worse problems out there. But you take a look at how the left is reacting. Don't get me wrong. I think at this stage of the game, a lot of this looks silly to a lot of people. I don't mind this happening in public, but I think so much of this could have happened in private. But listen to how the left is talking about this process.
I take no satisfaction in it, absolutely none. What bothers me most, I had my family here for swearing-in day, as many others had, and many still have family here. They were proud to be here, to see us sworn into this august institution. Of course, that never happened, and that's why you have to call me Congresswoman-elect. I worry for the American people. I take no satisfaction in the failure of Mr. McCarthy, and recognize this is an infection that really is within the Republican Party. As you say, you're a student of it. You were a leader in that party, but you...
She's talking to Nicole Wallace, and Nicole Wallace was never a leader in the party. And infection, they all want to bring things back to Trump. Infection, nice and dehumanizing, good on you. But let's go back to the idea of referring to Congress as this august body. It's Congress. You have horrific approval ratings. You had a speaker in Nancy Pelosi who didn't allow debate to take place on the floor. I think it was Representative Rosendale, who says, I've heard more debate in the past 3 days than I have on this floor than I have in the past 2 years. He's right. Nancy Pelosi was an iron fist, not a leader who encouraged great debate. That's not who she was, please. I won't let the history books be written that somehow she was all about the rules and order and decency and great debate. She wasn't. She was about power and slamming it down the other guy's throat. And that's the lesson to be learned, by the way. A speaker who does the same. There are people who believe that Kevin McCarthy won't do it. That Kevin McCarthy be too weak. Don't be weak. Slam it down their throat. Don't stop. Don't rest. Don't quit. That is an extremely important position. The left has to learn that because you did these things, you've now taught us that this is how you do these things. You can't do these things and then when Republicans get power, claim that, oh, wait, you can't do that. Yes, they will. You got to take Eric Swalwell off a committee. You got to take Adam Schiff off the committee. Oh, and you have to take the bigot Cori Bush off the committee. You refer to Byron Donalds as a prop. You double down on that. Representative Cori Bush is a bigot. She's a bigot. I say so. I mean it. I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say it anywhere. She's a bigot. You have told a black man that if he doesn't agree with you, he's not really black. That's what the left does. Remember, if you're black and conservative to the left, you're not really black. If you're gay and conservative, you're not really gay. If you're Jewish conservative, you're not really Jewish. If you're a woman and conservative, they don't think you're really a woman. But then again, they can't define what a woman is. So, all right, I guess that one is just, natural for them. They don't accept that you might do something with your own mind different than what they decide is acceptable. It is obscene and gross and disgusting how Cori Bush has acted. She's a bigot, and she should be removed from committees, and I would argue she should be expelled from the chamber. Expel her from the chamber. You got to have a speaker who will do that. Is Kevin McCarthy that guy? I don't know. But the left hysteria continues with Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, this is a nice little montage right here.
At the end of the day, all we are asking Republicans to do is to figure out a way for themselves to organize so the Congress can get together and do the business of the American people. Tip O'Neill got along with Ronald Reagan. Ted Kennedy got along with Orrin Hatch. Joe Biden got along with John McCain. Nancy Pelosi got along with John Boehner. Ruth Bader Ginsburg got along with Antonin Scalia. All we are asking is House Republicans to get along with each other so we can get about the business of the American people. There are national security vulnerabilities. This is a dangerous moment for Americans and for the world. It's one of the reasons why the Congress needs to organize. There are public health vulnerabilities It's one of the reasons why the Congress needs to organize and Republicans need to get their act together.
We are so lucky to be back with Alicia Menendez, Basil Smikle, and David Jelly.
We're never lucky to be back with Nicole Wallace. It's so good to see Hakeem Jeffries so worried about Congress, because clearly without a speaker, everyone's going to die. That's not true, and that is not the case. But that's part of the hysteria. Remember, the hysteria is not real. All this is theater. All this is about politics and trying to apply pressure and trying to poison the well. Every last bit of it. And yes, there were many people who got along or at least worked together. None of that has to do with this conversation about speaker. Absolutely, positively, none of it. They'll get the vote done. Should it be done already? I would say yes. It should be done already, but it's not. And one day it will be. Will Kevin McCarthy give up? I don't see it. Does Kevin McCarthy have the tools to create a deal that will get him the speaker position? I don't see it. Can anybody else come in as a consensus candidate? I don't see it until one of the McCarthyites, call it that for lack of a better word, then brings somebody else and says, this is the person who could be the consensus candidate. Until that happens, it ain't going to happen from the holdouts. They can nominate till they're blue in the face. No one is going to go along with them. They won't do it. But this leftist hysteria is hysterical. You can argue that the right is punching itself in the face. I don't mind the argument. I just don't worry about it. What the left is doing, this august body, people are going to die. We have national security is going to fall apart. None of that's true. None of that's true. You need a speaker. You need Congress to work, but Congress doesn't work. And we should be clear, it didn't work under Nancy Pelosi. That you didn't have these issues doesn't mean that it worked. If people weren't allowed to engage debate, if they weren't allowed to engage in conversation, if they couldn't bring things to the floor, if there were rules that were just draconian, if you allowed people to vote via Zoom, what you got was ideology working, not Congress. So we shouldn't allow ourselves to buy in to that bit of ridiculousness either, because that is ridiculousness. What do I expect? I expect to drink on air tomorrow, because we're going to go another couple of days without having ourselves a speaker. That's what's going to happen. He's not going to win the 11th vote. And then there'll be a 12th, and he's not going to win that either. I cannot yet envision what the sea change is that changes this. But the left hysteria, I swear to you, that right now is the thing keeping me going. If they should be quiet, be like, we don't know why the right can't figure this out, but we're going to keep putting up Hakeem Jeffries. You know, he's a great guy, right? He's an election denier, by the way. They have up as Speaker of the House, the leader of their party now in the House is an election denier. That's special. I thought that was the end of democracy. You see, they don't actually do it better. Have a drink, relax, try not to make yourself crazy. Oh, that's pretty right there. And don't forget to subscribe here, subscribe on Rumble. See, I'll put that up. Now it says subscribe on Rumble. Now you have to do it. Hello to all the people at Rumble. Good to see you. It's always a pleasure. I don't know why I say it sometimes. I pause through it. Very, very weird. It's just one of my things. And, of course, my thanks to Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org, sponsoring the show. Love that they are a part of what we're doing here, and I will catch you tomorrow. Take care.